We are going to be doing a planner update because I have lots of changes. Since it's the time of year that we are all thinking about what we're going to be doing for 2024, I thought I would tell you how things have changed recently while I try and figure out what I'm going to be doing next year. Let's close these and talk about what has been going on. I have my life tracker. I am several months into it and I have been keeping up with it. This is something that has been working for me pretty well. I have the monthlies where I'm utilizing the space to keep track of things that I'm working on, things that have passed, appointments, content, stuff like that. I do forward plan a little bit with pencil, but not very much. And then after the fact, I go in and decorate the months, but I usually wait until the month is over before I add stickers. Getting into our weeklies is probably where I struggle the most. As you can kind of see, some weeks are definitely better than others, and some weeks are just pretty empty. I just didn't know exactly what to put here. I do track a lot of my work meetings, and I was trying to focus specifically on personal tasks because obviously there are some things for my job that I can't really share. So everything's pretty cryptic and mostly personal based, but I just don't work very well with time blocking and going in and filling things out. And if it doesn't match the time exactly, it's a little bit hard, but I've been trying to do that anywhere where I just say, oh, like this is the kind of stuff I was doing that day. It doesn't actually matter what time. So like I'm trying to do that. For this, for instance, a lot of this is just like, oh, this is stuff that happened during that day, but not necessarily at that time. And then these were things that happened at that time. This was my week off as well, but like I didn't write anything here, even though obviously I did stuff. Like, I don't know. So this has been my biggest struggle, but I like everything else about this planner that I am planning on using this next year. It's kind of one of the only things I'm pretty sure about. Now in the back, when we went over this last time, I do have a video where I went through the first couple of months here. As you can see, I was using it as a commonplace book and a journal. Now I have a sticky note here to let me know where I've gotten to adding this information into my official commonplace notebook, because I was being a little bit too precious with this, and I had started filling in notes for the book Cast, which I was rereading and annotating, and I just haven't finished reading the book. So I was waiting for me to finish that book to continue adding stuff in here, and instead I was accumulating a bunch of commonplace notes in my life tracker and never actually putting it in my official commonplace book, which we're gonna get to a little bit more in a second. The reality, I wasn't expecting to go in this route, but I find myself commonplacing less and doing either ideas or journaling more. So this is turning more into just a regular journaling book more than a commonplace book for multiple reasons. One of the main reasons is actually because on any given day, I only have so much space to work with, and I'm the type of person who binges content. So if I am watching a bunch of educational YouTube videos that I want to take notes on, this isn't going to be enough space. So I find myself not taking notes on anything because I just don't have enough space for it in my dedicated life tracker. Which brings me to the first big change of my planner system, which is a commonplace inbox, which I'm calling my fleeting notes. I have set up a Sterling Inks Weeks, which is just a bunch of gridded paper. This is the Hobonichi Weeks cover with some scrapbook paper and then the Sterling Ink journal inside, which I have started to number the pages, and I have created the line here for my note-taking system. I have an index system, which is different from what I was doing in here, but what I plan on using moving forward based off of what was working and what wasn't working in my original planner. I adore the colors more from these dot stickers than these stickers. The problem is just that these came on a roll and had a lot of issues. If I run out of one color, I have to get all of these rolls to replace that color. And then, as you can see, several of them were punched out completely. It's just a really poor quality product, which is very upsetting. So I switched over to using the Stayology dot stickers. Even though I don't love the colorway, they're a little bit too bright for my personal taste, but I can get them in sets of 3 colors. And so when I run out of yellows, I do have to get the orange and red. I don't have to get all 9 colors. I can focus on 3 at a time at least. So that's the update there. In addition, I'm now using this separate booklet as an inbox to collect my fleeting notes before I transfer specific ones to my commonplace notebook. I will probably do a video to go over in more detail how I'm using these systems together, but to put it simply, this grabs everything and this collects specific things that I want to revisit. Hopefully that makes sense. So this actually doesn't get updated very often, in addition to the issue that I mentioned previously where I was waiting to finish a book, which I realize is very silly, but also just because there is a limit on the kind of information that I want to put in here. As a booktuber, I do try and put quotes for books, so I need to print out a sticker for this book, which is The Spite House. I also need to print out the cover for One Dark Window. Now, I do plan on still putting commonplace notes from this into here for memory keeping purposes, but not necessarily for the same use as this or this. In addition to that, the other big change that I had, which I hinted at a little bit in the weekly section, where I do track some of my work stuff, but I didn't want to go too deep into it because I can't share that with the public, and because I like the idea of this being mostly personal information aside from my schedule for the day, which obviously does include some work stuff. I decided to get a Hobonichi Weeks specifically for work stuff to include meeting notes and to just go deeper into what I do at my 9-to-5 job. So I end up putting meetings here, release dates, I put tasks for the week. I use this as a task area since I don't usually work on the weekends. Sometimes that happens, but so I'm basically using this to put information that I just can't openly share in my life tracker. Now, from this, I enjoyed it so much that I actually ended up getting another one for content planning, because similar to commonplace booking and keeping track of my 9-to-5 job, there just isn't enough space in here to do everything that I want to do. I got the Mega for both my 9-to-5 job and the content planner. I can show a lot more of this one. So this is the current month. I'm mostly doing videos for my tabletop role-playing game channel, and this was the relaunch month of that channel, so I'm doing a ton of content to promote and help grow and do all of that stuff. I do also have an area for me to keep track of how much money I make. I did go and backfill for pretty much the whole year, which is nice so that I can revisit all of this. I did have a dedicated content calendar at the beginning of the year, but I quickly realized that there just wasn't going to be enough space in the back for an entire year's worth of content and ideas. And so this kind of died out pretty quick. And instead, I switched to using the life tracker and project cards. Now, I'm still actually using the project cards. These are a couple of the previous sprints, and this is my current sprint, but I'm using the content planner to expand on a lot of those cards and to have a place to easily refer to previous things and write down ideas and just go a little bit deeper in a way that I struggle on these smaller cards. My biggest issue is that knowing this is all the space I have means that I often don't utilize it in the best ways that I can, because I just won't fill things out out for fear that I'll run out of space. And that's really my biggest problem with a lot of the stuff that I do, is if I feel like I don't have enough space, I'll keep it all in my head instead of write it out and get overwhelmed because there's just too much going on up here. You might be wondering why I'm still using the cards if they on their own don't work for me. And that's just because there's a nice convenience of being able to have a single card while I'm working on a specific video or project or something like that I can take notes in the moment. So as I was filming the review video for this book, I had the project card next to me to keep track of how long each part took so that then I can transfer that information into my content planner. So this information ended up here. I ended up reviewing the book itself and put that here, which I would not have had enough space to do that here. And then I ended up writing a couple of notes while I was actually working on it, which ended up getting copied here. So everything that's on this card usually ends up in here eventually. So these are still in use and I am utilizing this as well. Now, I don't get a lot of use out of the weeklies. I'm trying to use it to track stats and updates on how my videos are doing after the fact, but I'm still kind of trying to figure this out, although I think my solution for next year isn't going to have this, so it might not matter in the long run. And so these are the main part of my planning and general life note-taking system. I do have a couple of other elements still. So I stopped using the line a day journal for a decent chunk of time, and then I recently started using it again and will try and backfill some of the stuff that I have previously missed. This is something that just lives next to my bed and I'm trying to fill it out at night before I go to sleep. Then I have my Game Master journal for tabletop role-playing games. This is currently where I'm keeping adventure ideas, game ideas, and just general note-taking for the games that I run. But I do struggle with kind of using this, so I'm thinking of transferring over all of the notes from here into my plotter 6-ring binder. I have a whole entire video on the plotter books. This is kind of the only 3-ring binder system that I like because of how small the rings are. It's a lot easier to work with. And then using the very thin paper is also really nice. But because I switched over to using the Hobonichi Techo cousin for my main planning, which by the way is simply because the Bible size plotter, which is kind of like a personal size one of these, I was using that for planning, absolutely loved it, bullet journal style, everything was great until I went to archive the pages and realized that it was going to take up a ridiculous amount of space and I wasn't a huge fan of the way it looked. And so I decided, since I'm using this as memory keeping, I wanted something that I could put on the shelf and easily refer to again in the future. That's the main reason why I stopped using the plotter. But because when it comes to my game notes for sessions and for planning and for ideas, I want more flexibility with it. And there's just significantly less here than I get with something that I use on a daily basis. I think the plotter will be a better alternative to putting all of these notes in a book like this. But I haven't gotten very far into that, and that's it. That is my current planner system. I am hoping to do a 2024 lineup soon, so if you're interested in seeing my plans once those are a little bit more finalized, stay tuned for that. Also, if you enjoy any book content, you can check out some of my previous videos. I am hoping to do a mixture of planning and book content moving forward. Doesn't totally make sense, but I'm feeling those autumn falls? I'm feeling those autumn vibes. So if you've made it this far, include a pumpkin and I will catch you in the next video. Until then, bye! I love planners though. Good stuff, good stuff.